everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. Today I am creating a layout using floral embellishments for the Love Your Stash Challenge. This is a month-long video collab with the creative design team. We are tackling our stash throughout the month of February, and we would love for you to join along. Here is a list of all of the items we will be stash busting throughout the month of February. Feel free to join us and use that hashtag CDTLoveYourStash. The photos I'm using today are black and white, so I need to add some color to the layout. I was inspired by the color palette on this scrap piece of paper I found in my bin. I believe it comes from Summer Vibes. My plan is to collect some random bits of paper that match this color palette to create a banner. I loved Andrea's banner last week, and I wanted to be able to recreate it. I'm also grabbing some large pieces of our mix-in papers. I have this peach plaid and a black and white that I plan on using. These papers are going to be layered onto a black piece of cardstock. Whenever I have black and white photos, I try to use a black background or black matting, especially if I'm using bright colors around the photos. It helps draw your eye to those black and white images. I've cut down this peach paper so it's a little bit smaller than the black cardstock, and now I'm going to layer some other papers on top of it. Originally, I planned on putting this blue lace paper on top, but there's just too many patterns for my eye to handle, so I need something to break it up. I found a peach polka dot paper that I thought would be perfect, so I'm going to cut this down to 10 by 10 and layer it on top of the peach plaid. The next part of this video made me giggle. Whenever I have a piece of paper covering a large portion of pattern paper, I always cut out that layer of pattern paper that's going to be covered because I don't want it to go to waste. I started to laugh at myself. This month we are trying to bust through the stash, and that includes little bits of paper just like this. I really doubt I'm the only one that does this. All right, so now that I've cut out the center of that plaid piece of paper, I'm going to adhere it down onto the black cardstock. One of the sides is flush with the edge of the black cardstock, and the rest of the paper has a 1/4 inch matting around it. Now I'm going to adhere the peach polka dot paper down onto the page, and then I'm going to start adding my other layers of paper. Remember that blue lace paper I started out with? I've actually sat it aside and grabbed some black grid paper instead. I really like the simplicity of this grid, and the black is going to help bring out the photos. I've also grabbed some retired Valentine paper. The hearts on this paper are the same colors as the banner pieces that I picked out earlier. I also like the fact that these little hearts match the personalities of the girls in the photos. Now I'm going to add a little zip strip across the top, and I'm going to place those photos I've been talking about on the page. I hate to admit it, but I really struggle placing anything at an angle on my projects. As I'm trying to lay out the photos, I'm not sure if I want to place them at an angle or not. I am going to trim the photos to remove the distracting portions of each image so that they really focus on the faces. I'm still not sure if they're going to go at an angle or if they're going to go straight, but for now I just need to move on to the next part of the layout. The heart paper on this layout is blending into the background. I need to find something to break it up. I found this scrap of stitched together paper that is a glacier color, and when I layer the hearts on top of it, it matches perfectly. I love the way this grounds the layout and just adds a little pop of color to the background. Off camera, I've added some stitching to the layout in black thread. It gives it the look of a frame without adding another layer of black cardstock. Now that I have all of those background pieces chosen, I can start adhering everything down onto the background. I'm going to place the grid paper down first. I am adjusting this layout onto my Versamat so that I can make sure that it goes straight across the page. I love using the Versamat for this reason. It helps me keep all of those papers straight. Now I just need to add that zip strip across the top in the peach color. This came off the top of that plaid peach background. And then I'm going to add that blue strip of paper across the bottom. Now I wanted that heart paper to really stand out. So I've grabbed my intense black ink and I'm inking the edges of that strip of paper. I like how that black ink helps this paper stand out off the page. Before I adhere it down, I am going to trim off all of the excess over there on the right side. So I've just grabbed my Cricut craft knife. I'm just going to trim those off and set them in my scrap bin. So here's a happy little accident. I dropped that heart paper below the blue paper unintentionally, but once I placed it there, I realized I liked the look. So that's where it's going to stay. Now I'm going to bring back in those two adorable photos. I'm not quite sure how they're going to go on the page yet, but I need them there to help me place down my banner pieces. Last week, Andrea Sherman at A Girl Plus Paper built the cutest banner on her scrapbook page. I have never had the opportunity to do this, and I thought this would be the perfect page for a decorative banner. Remember those paper scraps I was digging through earlier? Here I am trying to determine which ones are going to look best as a banner on this layout. I have a combination of mix-in papers and a Bring Back My Pack. All of these are patterns and colors that go well with the others I chose for this layout. Now that I've determined which papers I'm going to use, I've trimmed them all down to 1 1/4 inch wide, and then I'm going to cut chevrons into the bottom of each one of these. I'm also going to fold over the top of each banner. When I build banners for my home decor pieces, I always fold over the top so that I can place a string through them. I feel like folding over the edge gives it more of the flag or pennant-like look. I'm also varying the length of each banner to give the layout a more whimsical look. On this page, I have a black background, I have the black stitched frame, and I added black ink around the heart paper. Like I said earlier, I like adding black accents to a page with black and white photos. It helps draw your eye to these photos. Since this banner is going to lie underneath the photos, I wanted something that helped draw your eyes to those photos, and I wanted the banner to be able to pop up off the page. And I just like the look of messy black ink on pastel papers. As I'm placing this banner on the page, I've realized that I need a way to make it look like it's stitched down on there. I don't want to pull out my needle and thread again, so I'm going to do some faux stitching with some dies. Now, I apologize that I moved my camera mount, and so it's very difficult to see how I'm placing these banners on my plate. I'm using some Post-it tape with this stitch die, and I'm just doing 4 at once. I'm going to run it through, and as I remove them from the plate, you're going to be able to see that there's a little bit of stitching on those banners. Now, when I place this other one down, you're going to be able to see how I use the Post-it tape to hold everything in place. Again, I'm just going to run this last one through, and when I pull it off, we have this cute little stitching, so it's going to look like it's sewn there on the page. To adhere these banner pieces to the page, I'm just using my tape runner. I have a few seconds to adjust these before the tape actually sticks permanently in place. That allows me to move them around underneath the photos. All right, now we are going to dig through the embellishments. After all, this week our goal is to get through some of our embellishments. Today, I am grabbing all the florals. You probably recognize some of these. Many of them are quite a few years old, but my plan is to use as many of these as possible today. I'm going to start with the largest flowers first. These are brightly colored flowers with polka dots and paint splatters. These flowers are big and bold. I really want them to stand out on the page, but I don't want them to overpower the photo. So my plan is to keep the flowers to a minimum. Right now, I'm trying to form a visual triangle with those pink and yellow flowers. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the pink and the yellow because they match the other accents I've chosen for the page. These paper flowers really don't give the page any dimension. They are flat on the page. I'm grabbing some of these brushed flowers. They are metal with little gems inside, and my original plan was to place them around the page. But they actually look super cute stacked up on top of these flowers. Off camera, I have a pile of white paper flowers, and I have more of those yellow and pink flowers. I'm using these white layers with the bright pink and yellow layers to create some three-dimensional flowers. Using that white is helping to tone down those bright colors, and it's giving me some adorable flowers for this page. Adding those metal flowers on top just adds to the dimension of the page, and I have to admit, I love the look of the metal and paper mixed together. Now that I know where the embellishments are going to go, I'm going to tack down these photos, and yes, they are going to be set at an angle. I will admit, again, I'm really struggling with this, but I really do like the look of the angled photos on this layout. The flowers are adhered together using a combination of foam tape and liquid adhesive. If you prefer a flatter flower on your layout, then liquid adhesive between those petals is just fine. I like the look of dimensional flowers on my layout, so I usually add foam in between every other layer. Can I just tell you how happy I am to be using some of these paper flowers? Most of these have been just sitting in my craft room for years, used occasionally on some home decor projects, but rarely on a card or a scrapbook layout. I am so glad that we are having this Love Your Stash challenge. Not only do I have a plethora of paper flowers in my collection, I have a ton of these acrylic buttons. They are super cute and they are just screaming to be used on this layout. I'm going to use one as a center for one of the flowers. I think that's really cute. I also see one of the buttons says LOL, laughing out loud, which is what these two girls do every time they're together. I need to try to find a third button that's going to fit on this layout. So I've gone and grabbed my blue bin of embellishments. This is how I organize some of my smaller embellishments. They are labeled in a drawer by color with smaller bins inside holding paper clips and brads and acrylic embellishments. This little box holds buttons and badges and tabs, all in blue. So I'm going to go ahead and dig through and find a couple to match the layout. Here's one that says fun, which is perfect for these photos. I also found a small one with a silver frame around it that says sweet, something I could picture these two girls saying. At this point, I have 2 blue buttons and 2 pink buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and look for a third pink button in my pink bin. And lastly, I'm going to dig through the yellow bin because I feel like I need some sort of yellow accent on the page. And I found this adorable little tag that says good times. Remember those die cut binders I showed you in the last video? Well, I've dragged them out again and I'm grabbing some die cuts. After all, they are embellishments that need using. I've added a polka dot heart at the top and I've added a couple of small butterflies on the layout. I started out with larger butterflies, but they were just a little too heavy for this page, so I stuck with the little ones. I haven't decided on a title for this page, but I do like this sentiment, be your own kind of beautiful, from the brushed collection. It matches the other brushed accents on the page really well. Right now, the sentiment feels like it's just floating at the top of the page. So I've grabbed a couple of chevron stickers and I'm placing them to the right of the sentiment. I'm going to adhere that LOL button right here above the yellow flower. And I'm going to take a step back and see if this layout feels balanced. I need a third blue accent on this page. So I grabbed this butterfly from that brushed sticker sheet, and now I have the two blue badges over there on the left, and I've balanced it with the blue butterfly at the top on the right. I'm also looking at the page and feeling like the flowers are kind of floating. So I've decided to grab ribbon. How much ribbon do you have in your stash? I have way more than I need. I'm going to create some faux leaves using loops of sheer peach ribbon. I'm just looping the ribbon around my fingers. I'm going to adhere the base together with a 1-inch glue dot, and then I'm going to tuck these loops underneath each set of flowers. The ribbon not only grounds the flowers, it adds a pop of color and it adds some texture to the layout. This is a great way to use up some of that ribbon in your stash. Loops of ribbon can look like vines or leaves behind any bundle of flowers. Speaking of flowers, I'm not done adding them yet. Anytime I can add something to a layout that looks like vellum, I'm going to. And these white flower sequins remind me of vellum. So of course, I'm going to add them to the page. Now I need to look at a title. I've grabbed this wooden Friends title, which doesn't quite fit because these two girls are family. So I'm going to swap it out for family. Adding the wood to this layout makes me realize that I need some neutral tones to help pull all of these items together. So I'm going to dump out my jar of wooden embellishments and rummage through for some leaves and vines to help finish off all of the elements on this page. So I'm sure that you have enjoyed looking at these photos and have giggled at that little cross-eyed kitten in the one photo. These two girls are cousins. One is in her 20s and one is in middle school, but they are the best of friends. As I was creating this page, the words like fun and LOL and sweet and girl are all things that I have heard in my household when these two get together. They truly enjoy spending time together. I am so glad I was able to record these memories on this page. The last additions to this page are buttons. I felt like the banner stitching didn't prevent it from looking like it was floating. So I needed something to look like the banner was being held in place, and buttons came to mind. I don't know about you, but buttons seem to multiply in my craft room. Every time I use one button, I find 10 more. I really need to find new ways to use these or start giving them away. Can you believe I was able to get so many embellishments on this page and still give it a really fun look? These photos are some of my favorites, and I feel like each little embellishment speaks to the personalities of these two girls. Fun, LOL, girl, good times, sweet, and be your own kind of beautiful are the perfect words to describe these two girls when they're together. I want to thank you for joining me today as I created this layout using embellishments from my stash. I hope that you have enjoyed all of the Creative Design Team videos throughout the month of February. Every week, we are showing you new ways to love your stash. Join the challenge by using that hashtag CDT Love Your Stash. I hope that you were inspired today to use a few embellishments in your craft room and that you learned a few new ways to use some of those items you've been collecting in your stash. Don't forget to subscribe to all of the Creative Design Team channels so that you don't miss out on any of our Love Your Stash videos. If you missed out on any of our past Love Your Stash videos, you can click on that collection icon above and catch up on all of the tutorials. While you're at it, go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you are notified when I add more videos to this channel. I hope that you are having a wonderful week. I can't wait to see what you create.